Hello to all of you wonderful moms out there. This is episode 68 of the Achieve Your Ambitious Mom Life podcast, the show where you learn to envision, plan, and take action on your big ideas so you can create impact at home and at work. I'm your host, Anoki Kapasi. So I'm back with part 2 of my interview with trauma-informed somatic coach in training and host of the Grounded Mama podcast, Lesley Alberts. The continuation of our conversation really moved this time into our differing perspectives on what life balance really means, especially for high-achieving or working moms who want to move the needle on their big dreams, but that are experiencing stress or overstimulation, anxiety, and even burnout. I really appreciated Lesley's approach to shifting the narrative in order to help us focus on the journey and experience joy while we're living our lives as moms, without us having to really give up our goal-oriented or driven parts of ourselves. And she talks about the best way to find your big ideas. And spoiler alert, it takes a lot less planning than you think. But if you haven't listened to part 1 yet, when we talk about what nervous system dysregulation is and what those signs are in ambitious moms, as well as simple grounding techniques, then you might want to go to that first one. That's episode 67, Why Your Personal Growth Starts with Nervous System Regulation. And I've linked that episode in the show notes below. And if you have listened to that, then you're going to find this part 2 episode just as fun, hopeful, and full of mental reframing tips. Are you looking for a way to blend success and motherhood without losing sight of who you are? I get it. I've been there too. Hi, I'm Anoki, a PhD researcher, business owner, and homeschooling mom of 2 boys. As your life coach, I help moms like you create a life you love at home and at work. If you're ready to stop feeling overwhelmed, overscheduled, and overlooked, and want a clear roadmap to a balanced life, a meaningful career, and finally feeling like yourself again while being the awesome mama that you are, you're in the right place. In this journey to create the life you truly desire, it's time to rediscover your dreams and achieve your ambitious mom life. I am so excited because I'm sharing part 2 of my interview with a special guest who is not only an amazingly warm person, but she exemplifies so many of the things that I talk about on my show. Lesley Alberts is a wife, mother of 2 boys, and host of the Grounded Mama podcast, where she holds space for mothers seeking balance in their life. By day, she works as an agricultural real estate appraiser, a role that originally brought her to Idaho, where she has now planted roots with her family. As an outdoor enthusiast at heart, she finds joy in skiing, hiking, mountain biking, and camping. Lesley is currently becoming a trauma-informed certified somatic coach and is passionate about helping mothers understand the power of a regulated nervous system in parenting with more ease and presence. So how cool is that? I mean, who doesn't want to know how to parent and live with a calmer, more regulated nervous system? I think we can all really gain a lot from this interview. And so without further ado, here is part 2 of our conversation.
I feel so more alive now than I have ever been before. And like I said, my life is chaos every day.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I want to touch on the balance part because that is my tagline on my podcast is finding balance by regulating your nervous system. Balance is, I don't want to say it's an illusion, but I think it's something that we unrealistically in our minds have set expectations to achieve. And this might be very triggering for some of your listeners. But I think with a regulated nervous system, your perception of balance can shift and change into making balance work for you, not you working for it.
Yeah. No, I don't think you're going against the grain at all with balance, because I think that is the key to balance, right? Like if you're just all hustle, that's not balance. So while culturally and societally, this is kind of almost becoming expected of moms to be able to do it all, right?
Yeah.
Like you have to get everyone everywhere they need to be all the time, you know?
Yeah.
But so for you to kind of say, hey, let's de-escalate that a little bit, that is balance. So I think that that is totally in line. I do have like a countering view. Maybe, I don't know if it's countering. I think we're actually saying the same thing. It's become trendy to say, you know, that work-life balance is a myth. And I think that does us a disservice. Like, I agree with you that it's not something you achieve. It's not one and done. I think you have to constantly work at it for sure. And it's not easy. And you should try to continually be aware and see where you need to rebalance things. So I'm totally in line there. I think it's a disservice when we say, oh, you can't achieve it, or, you know, it's a myth, because then I think it discourages women from
Mm-hmm.
actually trying to do that. It's like, oh, I
Yeah.
can only do this, or I'm only allowed to do that because balance
Mm-hmm.
is not possible, you know? And so that's
Yeah.
where with my sort of ambitious mom community who are struggling to, they want to prioritize their families and they are, and they're sort of voluntarily sacrificing other parts of themselves, whether it's self-care or
Mm-hmm.
whether it's their passions or their callings or whatever. When they hear that balance is a myth, then they are
Mm-hmm.
like, oh, well, I can't do all those other things. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
not trying to promote the hustle culture, but I'm also trying to say that, hey, there is a balanced way to
Yeah.
incorporate these other parts of you for you to
Yeah.
have self-care, for you to have all these things. So I think we're saying the same thing, but I also,
Yes. Can I
I'm,
clarify a little bit?
yeah,
Or
for
can I just
sure.
say, like, I think in our minds, or at least this was what it was for me, was I felt balance was like a teeter-totter that was like parallel to the ground, right? Like it's everything is equilibrium. It's a whole pie. It's all like everything in my life has like it's all split into the same
Mhm,
fractional amount. Like it's
mhm,
balanced. That's I
mhm,
feel like what our culture or like our society believes balance. And it's
mhm,
almost put on this pedestal, balance, like it's all lit
mhm,
up. And but I think it's bio individual to our needs, our values, our work situations, our life, our how many kids we
mhm,
have, what season of life we're in, if we're caregiving for our elder parents,
mhm.
it's gonna pivot and change and almost on a weekly. So I think sometimes balance, like what you're saying, gets moms discouraged because it's almost like you're never going to achieve it. I think we need to reframe our perspective of balance. That's where I think
Yep.
we will make balance work for us, not us work
Mhm.
for the balance.
Yep.
And so that's what I think is so important as a full-time working mom. Like I'll give you a tangible example. I met my year-end goal in August for my job, and it's amazing. I'm super blessed. I'm grateful that I had such a big workload, but now I'm asked to do more and more. And so
Yeah.
I'm setting, I think, boundaries, and I think you were kind of saying, were you saying authenticity earlier, like coming back to you and finding your mom's like who that is and what that looks
Mhm.
like?
Aligning
I
to themselves. Yeah.
Yeah, aligning to yourself. And I think learning what is a full body yes and a full body no, which is
Yeah.
a somatic, a body practice, is like,
Mhm.
ooh, that
Yep.
doesn't sit well with me. And to be
Mm.
able to hold fast and steadfast to your boundaries
Mm.
because people will push them. And I think sometimes high achieving women, I used to act like I got it all. I can do it all. I'm good. And I'm not
Mhm.
any, like I'm
Mhm.
surrendering that identity of me. I'm
Yeah.
shedding that
It
old.
is so humbling, isn't it? Once you become a mom, it's just
Yeah.
crazy. Yeah. I
Yeah.
100%. The other thing is a lot of people talk about work-life balance or they talk about balance as if it's this one thing. But what I often talk about and what I come to learn, and which is why I talk about it, is that there's so many different kinds of balances. There's work and life, but there's the
Hmm.
balance of individual versus family,
Hmm.
balance of family and community, balance of your thoughts, balanced
Hmm.
thinking, just having a balance, your health. Oh, yes, the other thing you said, like what to say yes to, what to say no to, what to include, what to exclude. There's so many different kinds of balances. But what's interesting when you said about that sort of equal fraction pie is if you take our biology as an example,
Hmm.
and I'm a biomedical scientist, so this is like I put everything in these terms.
Yeah.
It's just my go-to reference point. But our body tries to establish homeostasis, right?
Mhm.
But that it is constantly working even at the cellular level, subcellular level to establish that balance, right?
Mhm.
So it's not this one thing. And at different times of the day, different phases of our life, different development stages, balance means something different. And our body adjusts accordingly. Or we eat
Mhm.
something and then it has to rebalance, right? So it's this thing that you have to constantly think about and decide. Our bodies do that at a biological level, and we have to do it also at this sort of the brain level, the nervous system level, our life level. Like, what relationships are we going to let in? What are we going to let out? That kind of thing.
Mhm.
So, yeah, there's just so many different kinds of balances, and I just wanted to put it out there that I think that it all gets conflated.
Mhm.
And I think that's sometimes where also the confusion comes in, or you think like you've worked really hard to balance this one part of your life, but you still feel unbalanced. Well, that's because there's so many different kinds of balance.
Yeah. And I
And
think
Mhm,
something else that I have been playing with, and I think showing up with curiosity is another sign that you are
mhm,
regulated versus like judgmental, or I should have done it this way, or why did that happen? Or very critical.
critical.
If you're curious, it's like, oh, well, what if I tried it this way? I had a gal on my podcast in the very beginning, and she said, children are like scientists and explorers. They want to literally have a cause and effect and like see what happens. Right. So I think if we as moms, because I think we're type A, we're hard on ourselves. Like if we don't get it right, or we don't do it the way that it was supposed to go with this expectation, you know, and that's okay. We've been conditioned to believe that that is the way. And so if we can just show up, I think like our kids a little bit more with our schedules, with our balance, with our yeses and our nos, like all of it, I think being curious and being like, oh, well, what if I try, this week is my B week. We're getting back from a work trip. We're not going to be perfect. We're not going to be getting up at 5 a.m. doing all the things before the kids wake up. You know, this is just my tangible real life example now. So like to help your listeners, and like, this week's a B week, I'm giving myself permission to sleep until 7 or until the kids wake up, you know, whatever. And I think just shifting the narrative versus thinking balance is I'm up at 5, I do this for myself, the kids are out the door. Like, and some people don't have as flexible of a schedule, but I think just even if you have a really rigid schedule and playing with that, like the flexibility that you do have within that, like, oh, I'm getting ready to start my cycle. This should probably be like a C or a D week where I'm not as, you know, or available for meetings, or just kind of playing with your schedule. Like, cause I think again, the old balance is like, it's regimented, but I love your neuroscience, you know, example is like, yes, our body is constantly trying to achieve this balance. And I think if we looked at our lives like that more, and like, oh, we need to achieve more of this. I think this is going to lead to that success of achieving balance that much more efficient, and to feel that in your clients and your listeners, and feel like you're achieving it and doing it.
Yeah. That's the important part. It's the doing. Well, that's the whole point of life planning, is basically to show you what balance could mean for you. And it's okay to get off balanced, but you have a reference point of like, oh, when I do this, I feel balanced. Basically, when you're talking about playing with your schedule, that is like a big chunk of what we end up doing after the life plan is established. And the thing is that what you'll find when you go through the whole exercise is that we're saying yes to a lot of things that we think we have to say yes to. We think of them as have tos, but they're really not. Another thing that I wanted to check in with you is, so a lot of moms have this drive, right? We talked about the high achieving mom, where they want to accomplish more. Not that motherhood is not sufficient, but that they feel this drive to do something else, like they have more to offer, and it's beyond motherhood. And so while we want to have, and it's super important for us to have this direct impact in our families, you know, to raise kids, to be there and be present moms, we also want to follow some big idea, but doing so might actually lead to anxiety, self-doubt, fear of failure, because of how we're wired, just because of naturally being that high achieving type that might fall into the perfectionist side of things. The question is, how can understanding our nervous systems help us get past these obstacles? The ones I said about, you know, self-doubt, maybe the inner critic you were talking about, fear of failure, and allow us to go on and actually take action to achieve, or at least take the first steps towards our ambitions, but also just knowing that we're not relinquishing all our family responsibilities. I'm sorry if that's a really big question, but I really want to see what you think about that, how we could do that. I think you'd have some really insightful things to say.
Yeah, there's so much. I mean, that's such you have so many good questions, and I love that you're getting me out of my like normal box. First off, I think, you know, doing some of those grounding practices that we talked about, and giving yourself permission to play with your kids and just get it back into that creative play mode. That's when big ideas actually really happen, is when we're not even, kind of like I shared, like I'm in this program because it wasn't on my radar. And so I think getting back into creativity, finding those things that brought you joy as a kid, or what you are missing in your life and you have the awareness around, lean into that. Like if you love working out, but you don't have the time, and if you could find a local moms group that works out at the park with their kids on Saturday morning, and maybe you can connect in community with other moms there, or I'm just trying to give some tangible examples. Like,
that's great.
Really lean into what makes you feel good and lights you up and brings you joy, and less on the mind. And again, the mind is an amazing tool, and it's amazing how our bodies are made. Like I'm just still like mind blown by it all. But I would just lean into what makes you feel good. And if you're like so structured that you can't get there, you're like, I don't even know what I want to go fold the laundry because that's going to make me feel achieved. Like, I get it. I've been there. Like, I am speaking to my past Lesley right now.
I've never had anyone come on the podcast and say, fold some laundry for therapy, but I love it. That's so great.
Well, I'm going to challenge you. I'm going to say, or give yourself permission to do something like go for a bike ride or go find a class to paint or a book club, or like, again, find something that like I've literally gotten home from my trip and I've been binging. I don't watch TV, but my friend told me about this show and I've just been taking this offline, your mind offline for a little bit is okay. And I think just like enjoying something for the sake of enjoyment is okay. So yeah, if you need to fold that laundry and you can't let it go, like a great step would be to like find a show or listen to a podcast while you're folding that laundry, something you're enjoying. So it's not just outcome based. Focus on something that's less about the outcome and more about the experience. And I think my podcast before my rebrand was talking about, I had women come on talking about courage over comfort. And that really stemmed from that survival season. And my sister was one of them. And I'm just giving an example. She's a teacher, but she opened up a yoga studio because she got her yoga certification through COVID. And she said something on there that has stuck with me, especially in this process of like navigating this entrepreneurial journey of mine. Like, I don't know where I'm going to land. I don't have an expectation or an end goal because I'm enjoying the ride. I'm trusting the process. And it's really hard to let go of that control. Control is an illusion. But she said, I don't consider myself a failure in doing the yoga studio because it did have to shut down, but I learned so much in the process. So I think if you, again, start shifting your perspective, shifting your narrative in your mind, and if you have to write it on a sticky note or like start dreaming big, like what is something that you've always wanted to do and how could you move the needle an inch closer to that? And that feels good in the process. And maybe that's actually not the thing. It's the journey that you experience. Like, so it's about experiencing and being in the present and being aware versus like, because I think it's hard to get off of that outcome based like achievement. And I get it. Like I said, I've been there. I did a bikini competition. I lost like 20 to 30 pounds. Like it was, and it was a goal. Right. And I'm glad I achieved it, but it wreaked havoc on my body.
Yeah. And you learned something about yourself in the process.
And I got the abs. I got the 6-pack abs that I was wanting to achieve. But then my mind literally, the day I ate the cheeseburger after I stepped off that stage, I'm like, okay, now what? Like it was a sense. I think what we're trying to chase when we're trying to check things off the list and trying to keep going forward and keep doing is this sense of fulfillment. And I think we're going to continue to be hungry for it and chase it until we get off that train. I think, again, tapping into creativity, tapping into awareness, the joy, the excitement, doing a rock climbing day with your kids or, doing paintball or whatever, it's like having that fun, tapping into the awareness of today, the here and now, because tomorrow's not guaranteed. Like it's really a gift once you can like, again, you can still be an achiever. I'm still an achiever. Like it's but it looks so different. And I allow myself the permission to lay down the to-do list in order to go take a nap, to go read a book with my kids.
Absolutely. As you were saying that, I mean, as part of life planning, I do help moms look forward so they have a goal to move forward to. But what I really like about what you're saying is that you don't have to have one in order to be an achiever. The problem is that when you are goal oriented, when you don't have that goal to go to, it's disoriented because the goal is what directs you. And so then if you don't have it's like driving and not having a destination. So we have not gotten comfortable with not having a destination. And sometimes I think what you're trying to say is there are times where you just need to be in that exploratory phase just to lean more on creativity rather than the rational, concrete movement phase. And that often we may need to pivot or reset or make a U-turn or whatever that is. There's experiences and lessons through that entire journey. And it's not a failure, but it can be disorienting. And so it's uncomfortable sometimes to not have that destination. But the other thing I like about it is even if you do have sort of something you're trying to achieve or some goal you're trying to get to, is not being in such a hurry to get to that point that you don't like, that you just fast forwarded through the present, to be able to just slow down and enjoy the present moments. It's like, gulping down your ice cream instead of savoring the bites. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, this is our life.
Really it. And, I get it. Again, I'm not trying to say like, you got to jump ship, you got to abort. Like it's, like abort the mission. Like I'm not asking you to not have a destination. I'm just inviting you to change the destination. It can look so much different if you, it's kind of like a road trip. Like, oh, we're actually going to stop and explore this area for a few more days because we like it here and we want to see what it has to offer. It's just changing versus like an airport and, flying on a plane, you can't stop and change the destination. You're headed to where you're headed. But if you do, and a road trip takes longer, there's lots more time in the car. And it's, so I just think I'm inviting you to change your destination a little bit, or what that looks like to get there. And whether that's like having fun on your to-do list, or I'm going to do 1 5-minute grounding practice for myself each and every day, like creating that space in your schedule to where, kind of like we talked about, the good and the bad emotions, like you're holding space for, like you're starting to titrate that experience into your day, and it's going to feel good, and you're going to vibrate from it, and you're going to feel better about yourself, and you're going to have that aliveness, that feeling of fulfillment when you start bringing these things into your day. So again, it's just those little baby steps. Joy is our life's assignment. We're not meant to hustle our way or do our way to achieving. It's what is going to bring me joy in this moment. Like I said, kind of rolling your eyes, rest when the baby rests. I just traveled with my 2 kids solo on a couple flights. I had to travel for work, and I had to take them to my parents.
Oh, you are a rock star mom.
And so many people were saying, oh, you're going to miss this. And I used to roll my eyes at them too. Like, this goes by so fast. You're right. I'm really going to miss this one day. And instead of making my eye rolls at taking my kids to my parents, shuttling through San Francisco airport and Seattle airport, and them screaming on the plane, not napping, like, right. I could have so focused on all of that, but they got to spend a week with their grandparents, and I got to do my work assignment. To be able to witness the journey and to express sincere, deep, joy-filled gratitude about it versus being super negative or like trying to do my inspection and then get back to get my kids and then hurry. Like, no, we just kind of, again, we expanded on that journey. We expanded on that destination. So I love analogies. I love real life, examples. So I don't know if that like helps at all. Just like give yourself permission to change your destination, and what that looks like for you is going to look different than it does for me. And that's okay.
Yeah. And even your expectations, like you said, I feel a lot of times when I need a mindset shift or just to look at something from a different perspective, when I meditate, I realize that everything kind of looks different all of a sudden. Like I give the example, like a lot of times I'll look around, I'll be frustrated because I'm one of those, when I'm processing my emotions, I tend to clean. So when I look around the house and there's clutter everywhere, I just feel so dysregulated.
Yeah. And it's a thing.
When I meditate though, finish and I come out of that, all of a sudden, instead of seeing a dozen things that are annoying me, I just see, these are all these little signs of my kids, that I have life in the home, that they built this Lego structure or set up their magnet tiles a certain way, or these little delights. Like they become little sources of clutter to sources of delight. That I'm lucky. I'm so blessed that I have beautiful human beings in my home to create this, whatever it is, I've like renamed what it is. And the same with traveling. I grew up traveling a lot. My family used to travel, and I have one of those families, like my parents, and that really like to get a lot of bang for their buck. So when we traveled, we did everything as much. We packed in as much as we could, and that's the only way I knew how to travel when I was younger, and I loved it. I mean, I liked doing a lot of things when we travel, and now in motherhood, we are really selective about our vacations and when we travel and stuff. And I would like to get into traveling more. But what I was noticing would happen was, the nature of our travel obviously has changed, and my expectations of what we do on our trips have changed. But I used to still think about initially that our vacations were really about me. Like I wanted X, Y, and Z out of this vacation. And what I realized was I now pick one thing. What is the purpose of this vacation? So maybe this vacation is about making sure that my kids can bond with their grandparents. That if that happens, success, Another trip might be more about me. Like I need time to just have time alone. If I can get away for 15 minutes every day on this trip and just have like no sound. Because for me, that is the triggering thing is audio pollution. I know. Go figure, I'm a podcaster. But, I love that, but like picking my one thing that I need out of the trip, that has changed it. Because then all the other things, the hustle at the airport, everything else, it doesn't matter. Have I gotten that one thing that I need out of that trip?
Yeah,
You know, it
absolutely.
might just be connection with my family, like my family of four or whatever, to just find a warmer place so my body feels warm for a little. I could thaw out from the winter here in New England. Whatever it
Right.
is, I pick that one thing. And so when you were
Totally.
talking about it, I realized, yeah, you didn't hone in on all those other difficult aspects of traveling. You were like, look, this is what I got out of it. And it was
Hmm.
beautiful. And it allowed you
Yeah,
to kind of not be anxious about it.
totally. And I think something that you just so beautifully and eloquently shared, maybe without realizing it, is that you wouldn't know that and like kind of like you talked about your moms and having the fear of failure or like not leaning into what lights them up and their passions. I think you wouldn't know that about traveling with your family unless you did it, right? Like you had
Mm,
to go through those experiences, whether you realize it or not, to learn that about yourself, to learn that about the outcome or what you would ideally like to pick one
yeah.
thing from a trip. So I think
Mm,
it's all part of life's journey. It's all part of the
mhm,
process. And so I think that's where I invite you to like shift the narrative on failure, not you, but like anybody that has that struggles with that. Cause I think failing is not doing anything at all. It's sitting on the
mhm,
sidelines and wishing and hoping and waiting for something to come along that you're too scared to step out and try. And I think
mhm,
don't have an expectation around it. I think truly expectations can get us into trouble sometimes, like really like
mhm,
get, and then that will hold us back or keep us stuck. If I
mhm,
would have said, I'm scared to start a podcast because I don't know tech. Guess what? I signed up for a podcasting class and I figured it out, like, and I
mhm,
still went for it. And I don't really
mhm,
edit my episodes because I'm like,
mhm,
hey, people want to hear the real authentic me. They're
mhm,
not here for the perfectly poised picture of me because
mhm,
that would take way too much time and energy for me to try and cultivate because that's
mhm,
not me.
mhm,
So I just think like really shifting the perspective, like you said, the TSA doesn't matter. Going through security doesn't matter because that's
mhm,
not the goal. Like getting through TSA
mhm. Yeah.
perfectly said no mom ever, like, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
everybody's going to be annoyed with you with the strollers and all the
Yeah.
thing, all the stuff, but who cares? You're never going to see these people again. And also like my kids were screaming on one of the flights and I finally just let it go. Like there are parts of me that still want to
Mhm,
try and control. I'm like, they haven't had a nap. It's been a
mhm,
long day. Everybody else on
mhm,
this plane has earbuds. Put your earbuds in if it bothers you.
mhm,
Like it
mhm,
truly was a piece of me like worried
mhm,
about what other people were gonna their experience. And I'm like,
mhm.
who cares? My kids are great kids and
Yeah.
this is an hour flight. But I think we have control over an outcome or a situation
Mhm,
or a circumstance. And
mhm,
all we truly have is choice. We only have the choice
mhm,
of how we're going to show up or how we're going to handle that situation. So I truly just would like invite your listeners to tap into their choice. Like, what choice do I have in this versus like focused on an expectation? Cause that's control
mhm.
in a way, right? Like
Yeah.
it's a mind trick, but like,
Yeah.
what choice do I have today versus like, what is the outcome? Again,
Yeah.
shift that perspective also.
Yeah. I love it. I think this is pretty much a good note to end on. I have one question that I tend to ask all of my listeners. Actually, I'm going to ask you specifically with your experience as both, being a mom and a trauma-informed somatic coach, if I
Mhm.
said that right.
Yeah.
So, what does it mean to you to be a mom and still also be able to create impact in this world? What is a meaningful life to you?
Mm, wow. Gosh, your questions are really good. What is a meaningful life? I feel like I'm living my life's assignment that I've been called here to do, and I can do both. I can have a role of a mother, and I'm
Mhm.
I'm leading by example. I'm leading my kids how I want them to show up in the world. I want to raise good, kind humans,
Yeah.
and yeah, I think it's just such
Yeah.
important work. And I know it's not just for my family. I know it's for that ripple effect. It's for the impact of other overwhelmed,
Yeah.
overstimulated moms that want to do better, want to be better. They just don't know how or why they're feeling this way. So again, and it's possible. And I think it's just
Yeah.
again leaning into that awareness, tuning into it, tapping into the present moment. And again, that's it's going to be the ripple effect because it's not just you as a bio individual, it's your entire family's nervous system. I call it, like your family's nervous system blueprint. Like it's all of you cohabitating together. And
Mm,
it's that's
I
what I'm
love
here to
that.
build for my
Yeah.
family and other families.
Yeah. It's also sounds like it was a spiritual calling for you as well
Mhm.
to do
Yeah.
this. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, that's so great. I love that. I asked this question, and obviously, I tend to interview a lot of moms on the
Hmm.
show. So it's really interesting to hear how many people have really returned this question or framed their responses from it started off with what they were trying to do for themselves and their families, and
Hmm.
how that sort of insular impact that they wanted to make then expanded to a more world level
Mm-hmm.
impact to the outside world as well. So it's really interesting. Anyways, so I really want to thank you. I know I sort of was bugging you in a way to be on the show,
No,
but you can see you're just too
You're
sweet.
reminding.
I just had so many questions for you, and I've just really been loving all of I know I've seen a little bit of your journey through the rebrand and stuff, and I knew that we would have a lot to talk about. So I really appreciate you being so generous with your time. I know my community is really going to benefit from learning about everything that you just explained. And so I want them to continue that learning journey with you. Where can my listeners find you?
Well, I'm currently pausing on all things productivity wise as I obtain this certification, but I do have a podcast called The Grounded Mama. You can go back and catch up on episodes and see if any of them resonate with you. And I am also on Instagram at The Grounded Mama, and you can find me there. If you, again, feel like something resonated with you, feel free to send me a direct message. That's probably the easiest way right now, just in this kind of pause season. I'm not on there often, but that would be the best way to contact me. I am currently offering free somatic coaching towards my certification. So if if anybody's interested in seeing what somatic coaching is like, or to go through a somatic process, I would be honored to hold sacred space for you or any of your listeners. So if you do send me a direct message, I'd be more than happy to send you my calendar link. So yeah.
Okay, ladies, there you have it. Lesley Alberts of the Grounded Mama podcast. I'll link all of her details in the show notes and a couple of the resources she had mentioned as well. Thank you so much, Lesley.
Thank you so much. Appreciate you.
I hope today's episode will help you create time and freedom to pursue something you love to do. If you enjoy the show, please subscribe and tell other purpose-driven mamas about it. Who knows? You might even make a new friend by sharing a tip. It's all free. By the way, it would be amazing to hear what you think about the show when you leave a review on Apple Podcasts. After all, my passion is to make this a great experience for you. I'll see you next week for another episode of Achieve Your Ambitious Mom Life with Anoki Kapasi.